Hi guys, it's Sophie and I wanted to do my December wrap up today. It's late, I know it's late, I've been very busy. I often find at this time of year there's so much to film and I struggle to get them all in order. And to be honest, I think if I didn't do the reading spreadsheet, which normally takes about 3 days before I put it out, I'd film this first. But it always is like, oh my god, it's nearly the first, I have to get it sorted. So the December one's kind of coming like mid-January, just you've got to be fine with it. So I didn't have that many books to talk about. And I'm going to do them as pop-ups just because I've been filming quite a few and I would have like a huge pile on my table otherwise. Hopefully that's okay. So the first one that I read was The Salt Path by Raynor Winn, which was on my list for quite a long time. This is a book talking about a woman and her husband who become homeless and decide that they may as well walk along the coastal path in the southwest. I know that lots of the places where they're walking, so that was one of the things that appealed to me about this book. But I also heard a lot of people saying they really enjoyed it. I found it really interesting to read the perspective of people who've become homeless. I know a few people in my real life who have been homeless in the past, and that's partly because I've been engaged with mental health services. But yeah, so I don't think it was an alien idea, but I thought it was quite interesting to see what that transitional phase felt like, the kind of loss of losing the place where you live and then the what next, and some of the kind of pressures of knowing you're welcome for a little while but not a long while. So I thought that was really interesting and I did enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I'd hoped I would, just because I think the hype was too high, and I said that before I read it, that I was really worried that because everyone had told me how much they loved it, I wasn't going to enjoy it as much as I might. That happens with me sometimes. I think it's still a really good book. The next one I read was The Power of Vulnerability by Brene. I have waxed lyrical about this in my favourite books of 2019, so I will spare you that here. I just wanted to mention that it's kind of like a self-help book, feels more like therapy than anything else, and I think it's brilliant. Then I read a collection of essays from Hurstvedt called A Plea for Eros, which is quite a mixed collection of essays, really. I definitely felt that some of them I enjoyed more than others, and I have to admit I did skip some. So she does quite in-depth dives, and actually quite a lot of essay writers do this, on particular books, and I only ever read the ones that I've read the book of. I find that when I try and read the ones I haven't like read the book of, seen the film of, heard of, I don't get anything from them. So I read the Great Gatsby one, but I didn't read any of the others because I hadn't read any of the books. But I did enjoy the Great Gatsby one, so probably the other ones would have been good too. Yeah, I think she's a really interesting writer and I want to try and read more of her. I'm not quite sure what I get from her, if that makes sense. That feels really like catty, but I'm not sure what comes out after I've read her. I enjoy the process and it feels challenging, but I don't know what the outcome is for me personally. And that's something that's really important when I'm choosing like favourite books or books that I really strongly recommend, is when I feel like they've had an impact outside of the reading experience, and I feel like it's more of an intellectual reason with Hurstvedt, but I still enjoy her, and I don't want to be too catty about it. So those books I read like in the first few days of December, and then I read nothing until the 22nd. I proper just slumped. I was a little bit like, I don't know what to do with myself, because I just wasn't loving loads of things that I was reading. So I ended up rereading If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I didn't get all the way to the end, but I got most of the way there. Probably read like 2/3 of the book, and it like prompted me to like go read again, and I enjoyed what I read. I didn't stop because I wasn't enjoying it, I just stopped because it had kind of done its purpose and I remember the end. But it's the first time I've reread something in a little while, which was fun. And the next one I read is one I got for review, and that is Winterlust by Brunner, which is a non-fiction book just talking about lots of things to do with winter, and I really liked reading that. I read it just before Christmas. It's kind of one of those books I would have loved when I was a kid, or would have loved to have like in my parents' house when I was a kid, in that you can kind of just open a book and do a deep dive about something. So I learnt lots about snowflakes, but it was just like indulge your curiosity, not too challenging, quite a like, it didn't really go into the fact that winter's ending for all of us on the planet slowly. So quite a kind of a light subject in comparison to quite heavy non-fiction I normally read, and I did enjoy the process of reading it. So yeah, if you like winter or you're a wintry person, it might be one that you'll enjoy. Then I listened to another Brene book, which was Braving the Wilderness, which is talking about politics and empathy. and I did enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy it as much as the other one. I felt like I got some stuff from it, but not as much as the other. It kind of just challenges you to think about why you think the things you think and what assumptions you put in place once you know someone believes one thing or does one thing as to why they might do that. So I found that a useful exercise. It just didn't bring as much to me personally, but if that's something you're into, you might find that one applies to you more than her other book. And then I read Disappearing Earth by Julia Phillips, which is one I got for Christmas, and I did enjoy this one. I think I'd expected something else, so I'm kind of tempered a little bit by the fact that I was a bit sad that it wasn't more mystery-like, but what it was good. It is talking about the disappearance of 2 young girls at the very beginning, but to be honest, they're more of like a link between these other women. The book is talking about the lives of a number of different women. I think it's 11 women over 11 months, and kind of seeing their role in this part of Russia. One of the things that I struggled with a little bit in reading this is I'm pretty sure that the author isn't from Russia. I'm pretty sure that the author is American. And I always find it slightly odd when there's a commentary on another culture, specifically when it's quite complex things like gender and gender expectations, if it appears that the author isn't from that place. So that's kind of one of my caveats. I couldn't find anything that said that she was from Russia. It said that she stayed there for a while, but who knows. If you know any more about her than that, please let me know. I went on her website and read a few articles, but I couldn't see much more than that. And then the last one that I read in December was No Visible Bruises by Louise Snyder, sorry. And this was the last book that I read in 2019 and it blew it off with a bang. It was fantastic. It's a book that's talking about domestic violence and domestic homicide. A lot of it's around domestic homicide, I would say. And it's something that I felt I knew some things about, but I didn't know as much as I feel I needed to know. It's something I've been talking about quite a lot. It's something that, because my family's in healthcare, they have tenuous links and understanding and involvement in those kind of processes, the review processes. So that was really interesting to read the book and then talk to someone who actually is involved in reviewing domestic homicide. And I think that it's simultaneously easier to fix in a weird way than I'd imagined it would be, and more catastrophic in terms of the scale than I had thought as well. And I just thought it was a really, really well done non-fiction book. If you are just into non-fiction where it feels just compelling and you just want to get back to it and you feel like you're learning loads, I definitely recommend that book as one to pick up in 2020. So those are all the books that I read in December. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and as always let me know in the comments down below if there's any that sound interesting to you, and I'll see you guys in another video. Look after yourselves until then. Bye!